Hello, everyone. My name is Gary. I'm back with another episode of podcast series with Hoi Art Festival. So I hope you enjoy the one I did with Alan and also Wesley. So today I'm happy to meet Stephen from B Design. He's one of the artists, along with another two friends, Keith and Arnold, who designed an installation for the festival at Yim Tin Tsai, and it's called the Glazed Island. So without further ado, welcome Stephen, and thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, Gary. Hello, everyone. So I'm Stephen, and thanks for the introduction. Myself and Keith and Arno, together we created this art piece called the Glazed Island.
Yeah,
So,
great. Thanks a lot. I think just maybe the first question, without jumping into the artwork, I noticed that you yourself and Keith and Arnold also collaborated a few times in different kind of artworks, and particularly this time with the use of recycled glass, and that has been experimented in different artwork as well. Could you talk a little bit about recycled glass in general, which even though before this podcast we mentioned quite a long history about recycled glass for Stephen, which they went through a long process and experiment to navigate this new material, which is I'm not sure. Is this something new in Hong Kong?
well, the whole thing, the whole recycled glass thing, is actually a side project for the three of us. So we three work in different companies, doing architecture and interior design, and we joined the competition 6 years ago, and that competition is about a recycling facility in Wan Chai. So if you've been to Wan Chai, it's a bar district, and every night there will be a lot of glass being thrown away from the bars. So the immediate material we thought of to use for this recycling facility is to use the glass recycled from these bars. So at that time, we proposed to collect the glass from the bars and then form it into bricks. And then we construct simple brick walls for this recycling facility, because this is only a one-story facility. So we thought, well, the brick walls can even be an organic one. You can keep constructing different parts throughout the time and then do these recycling works in that workshop. And at that time, we didn't win the competition. And the judge came to us and said that, oh, well, I like your idea very much, but I cannot give you as the winner because we need to build the winning scheme. And at that time, there's no such thing in Hong Kong, and I'm not sure if I let you win the project, how you can build it. So, and at that time, we're determined to explore this recycled glass thing.
Oh, that's very interesting. I mean, for me, I would feel very sad about the wasted beer rather than recycled glass. But I mean, it's quite true, which we previously mentioned about the recycled glass as well. If we notice it compared to the vodka glasses or the beer glasses, well, vodka glasses tend to be transparent one, but looking into like Heineken or any, we are not sponsored by Heineken anyway. So, but looking into the glass and the green one, the brown one, they are very interesting. So they are tinted glass. So I mean, just curious, what would be? Is there any difference when you are processing the glass into the glass brick? Would they be performing different kind of reaction? I suppose it's the same.
Oh, the physical property is quite the same. But so when we look into this thing, after the competition, we whenever there's a chance to talk about recycling, we try to grab it and talk about recycling glass. And at that time, I think the recycling rate of glass in Hong Kong is like 10%, which is very, very low. And even up to today, it's only 20%. So compared to other materials like paper or plastic bottles or aluminum cans, recycling glass is really not a thing in Hong Kong yet. So after that competition, we joined another exhibition trying to raise the awareness of glass recycling. We created a huge hammer and allow visitors to put in their glass bottles and just smash them, creating a huge noise in a shopping mall environment. And that was quite something. A lot of kids queue up and try to put glass bottles in. So we collaborated with the restaurants around the venue, and people can take the glass bottles from there and then put in the machine and try to smash it. And then we also go to the upstream. So we visited the glass recycling facilities in Hong Kong, and found out that the recycling job is really a tough job. Where the workers work in a harsh environment. Is of course, there's no air condition in the hot summer, and the glass bottle smells really awful with with a lot of things inside the glass bottles, and you need to wash them, you need to peel off the labels and recycle them. And then we also talked to the owner of the glass recycling facilities, and found out that actually if you separate the glass into different colors, you can get a much better recycling price. So for example, if you separate the transparent one from the brown, from the green, and then recycling them separately, you actually get a better price. But at that time, they don't even have the technology or the machine to do this color sorting. So I think there's still a lot of room to improve this whole ecosystem of glass recycling in Hong Kong.
That's interesting. So different colors do price differently as well.
Yes, yes. And
Wow.
if you mix them together, you can only get the lowest price. Just
Well, I mean, I'm quite curious about. Sorry if I ask something technical. For different glasses, like in the market, we do see different kind of brands and also different kind of liquid, like beer or hard liquor or things like this. So, do they have different kind of grades for the glass bottle?
They are roughly the same, I think. Roughly the same. At least in recycling, it's the same. But
I see.
since they do not have any color sorting or any other higher technology stuff to arrange them, so most of the glass recycled in Hong Kong are only doing a downcycle thing, mostly used for mixed into cement or used in road paving as an anti-skid layer.
Okay.
So the price was really low. So we thought, rather than downcycling, why can't we do something upcycling? And that we came up with the idea of using this glass to create beautiful things like sculptures or exhibitions or things like that. So turn it into something colorful, translucent, and attractive, and show people that glass recycling can actually be upcycling. So that's kind of our goal. And then after that, we were very lucky and have a few chances to create sculptures in exhibitions. Like in the Detour of 2020, we created a spiral glass brick sculpture. So it was in the height of COVID. We wanted to create a sculpture that represented at the time that there's a lot of boundary between people. But somehow in our structure, we have some openings. So you can talk to the person behind the wall through these holes without getting COVID. That's the idea.
It's a social distancing pavilion.
Yes.
But
And
yeah, I mean, coming back to I think what you mentioned is kind of like an igloo, the spiral sculpture.
yeah.
And in the caption you mentioned 400 different sizes of glass recycled to become a sculpture. So 400 seems quite little that I thought, because it seems like quite a huge pavilion. So just curious, how many glasses do you need to produce one brick? I suppose the brick is about like 200 by 100 mil kind of a typical size brick, or
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, if you talk about the igloo one, the igloo one is in 2021, and that is for a shopping mall. And for that one, it is a Christmas installation. So in the igloo is actually an activity space, and we also have a series of workshops and talks about recycling. about glass recycling, about all other sorts of recycling activities. So that one we used not a lot of glass bottles because it's actually a thin piece of glass tile, I would say. So it's not really a brick. So it's a thin tile of around 15 mil. And then we use a steel structure to hold it into a sphere form.
I see. And then above there, there's a bottle cap hanging from
Yeah.
the top.
Yes.
Yeah, my bad. So there's one, the igloo one with a much more colorful one, and then the spiral one is like 3 colors gradient spiral
Yes. And
with
those are
on top of.
actual color of the bottles. We separated bottles into transparent and green and brown and
Oh, nice.
into different bricks. So
Oh,
you can see
nice.
some bricks are more white, some are a little bit yellowish. Those probably are soy sauce bottle that we didn't clean thoroughly.
So it's not limited to beer or alcohol bottle. They are from soy sauce or cooking sauce
Yes, all sorts of
bottles.
bottles. Yes,
Oh,
yes,
nice. That's very nice. I mean,
yes.
I'm just curious. Like, I mean, let's say one brick, the not the piece one.
Mm.
How much do you need for one brick? How
Oh,
many
for the
kilos or?
mm-mm. I think we will need around 3 to 4 bottles.
Ah, that's quite a lot. That's not too
A lot,
much.
yeah. Yes. So the brick is actually quite heavy.
Including the raisin.
Yes.
That's
And the glass is quite high density. So it's quite a heavy, quite a solid feel that you can give. But yet it looks transparent or translucent. So it's quite
mm,
interesting that you can have light casting through it.
mm-hmm. That's very interesting. I mean, now coming back to the artwork that Keith, Arnold, and yourself would design the Glazed Island. Would you like to talk a little bit about the inspiration, which I read on the website? It says about the history of salt pans.
Mm,
Um, Perhaps you could, share with us about the history of salt pan, and also because in Hong Kong it's quite rare to find salt pan, as you mentioned
mm.
earlier. Is yeah.
Yes. So for the Cyclone Hoi Art Festival, this is the second year. I'm sure Alan has talked about it last time. And so this time we have been invited to create an installation on Yim Tin Tsai. Yim Tin Tsai in Chinese is means salt pans actually, an island for salt pan. So Yim Tin Tsai was in the middle, kind of in the middle of many islands in Cyclone. And there was a salt pan that was in existence for more than 100 years. And now it is, there's another team of people trying to revitalize it and trying to restart this salt production. But it was a very important, both economically and socially important thing back in the old days. Before Cyclone was more isolated, and most of the people were villagers, so they fish and they farm and they rely on the salt supplied by this salt pan. And we have been invited to create an artwork on this island. And so we took the inspiration of the salt pan. So we look into the salt crystal. And if you zoom into the salt crystal, it's actually a perfect cube, not hexagon, it's a
Mm.
perfect cube. And but another feature in Cyclone is the hexagonal stone pillars, which was formed by volcanic activities, I think 50 million years ago. And it is a geographical character that it only exists in Cyclone in Hong Kong. So we try to combine this hexagonal shape with the pure cubic shape of salt, and then created this artwork that is, as you can see, at some angle, you almost have a false perspective of seeing cubes stacked together. So that's our idea, to combine these two main characteristics and geographical forms into one. And the other thing that we created with this installation, if you stand back a little bit, the shape of our artwork is actually the shape of Yim Tin Tsai. So Yim Tin Tsai is an island, and then an island with two small mountains. and at the middle there's kind of like a valley, and the saltpan is at the middle. So actually in our artwork, we created two sides higher with the small table, and the middle we have a hexagonal table which we made with pure white glass, and that is the location of the saltpan on the island. So the shape of our installation is actually the island, and the location of the saltpan is that small table, and on the two sides is the two small hills on the island. So we try to string the whole Yim Tin Tsai into this artwork, and we placed this thing at the midpoint of the path when you travel through the island. So we hope people can take a rest, chat a little bit, or have some snacks using our tables and chairs along this path when they visit Saigon, visit Yim Tin Tsai for the art festival.
I mean the white structure itself is a steel structure, or or is
Yes,
the plastic itself?
that's a steel structure.
Okay.
Mm.
And then with the green, almost like a army green kind of columns
Mm.
go down. I mean, I quite like the idea of translation of the geographical profile of the island into the artwork. But meanwhile, the first image on the website is sort of create that kind of contrast. It's almost like, it's a very man-made structure. It's almost like very hexagon, very geometrical, almost a mathematical, precise installation against the forest in at the background. There's a little house there. I think it looks abandoned, or I don't know. There's a
Yes, at the back is an abandoned house.
okay.
So the island is actually quite how to put it? A lot of villagers moved out. So not a lot of people are still living on the island. I think like there were like less than 10 families still on the island.
Oh wow.
So part of this art festival is to bring people back to the island. And with more visitors, it may help to support a little bit more of economic activities. For example, there's an old lady making kind of like a sweet dumpling, and also making like other desserts and things like that on the island. So hopefully by this small step, we kind of revitalize in another dimension that it helps to bring activities back to the island and makes the island more habitable. So this island, this Yim Tin Tsai, was full of history in many ways. First of all, it has the saltpan, which is socially very important before, and there were also a church on the island, and the village head and the priest, and they are all from this island. They are all villagers before, and somehow the church is still in operation. And I think in recent years there are more people coming back to the island just to enjoy the walk, and also they bring their kids back and tell the story that they live in the island when they were a kid, and so I think there's an extension in the history of the island that in an intrinsic way that the life of the villagers are still documented, maybe verbally or in some sort of exhibition. And there's a restaurant just opened a few years ago, I think. And so I think slowly they may find a way, find an equilibrium that the island is still habitable in a way. Of course, it would not be as populated as before, like hundreds of people living on it, but at least it would not be deserted and became an empty island.
I'm gonna take a detour to know more about the design. When designing the art installation, where I find sometimes it can be quite challenging to derive a certain design outcome. And also the story that you are trying, I mean, the work is trying to tell the general public or the visitors about the story of uh Yim Tin Tsai is
Mm.
it's not literal in a sense. So was there any information or a guided tour to tell people about that? Because they might, from what they see, they might thought it looks like a salt crystal from the
Mm,
surface, even though it's recycled glass. So my question would be, was there any kind of information panel
mm.
or the team and yourself prefer to let the visitors to take their guests on their own, or it's kind of like visit and inspire themselves by just looking
Mm.
into the artwork?
Yes, yes. It is always a challenging step to let the viewers to understand our intention, I think. So,
Because the artwork itself is very rich in geographically, historically, culturally, sociologically, and also economically. Maybe in as you
mm,
mentioned about the salt pan, it's very hard to summarize everything in just in one artwork.
yes, that's right. So, and because of that, we have recorded our design thoughts, and I think they created an audio guide. So when you are there, a board, and also there's a QR code you can scan and you can listen to the explanation behind. And on top of that, we have two workshops coming. So
Mm,
one is this Saturday, and then the other one is the 2 Saturdays later. And in these workshops, we collaborated with the villagers who lived on this island before, but now they live in Cycle in the main town area. But they will come back to share their stories. And also, we'll talk about glass recycling, and we'll talk about salt and how important it was back in the days. So if you have time, please join us this Saturday and also the next Saturday as well. And
yeah.
if you don't have time, please at least come and visit and listen to the audio guide.
Yeah, I'm afraid by the time this podcast is released, I'll try to share this as soon as possible.
Ah.
But yeah, but the audio guide is an interesting one. I was listening to it, so even though I'm not in Hong Kong, but yeah, so I'm trying to reminisce about it in Malaysia. So
Yes.
the final question, maybe another following question would be, what would be the challenges in producing this artwork? Because thanks to Stephen for sharing before this podcast. He also mentioned about the challenges of um, recycling glass apart from melting them, because it requires a very high energy input. For this
Hmm.
one, I mean, the artwork before that as well is kind of smashing the glass into small pieces.
Hmm.
Where Stephen also mentioned it's up to 80% or 75% of the glasses in each pieces in a way.
Hmm.
So apart from the logistic side, what would be the challenges in producing such artwork? Do you find it's very it's almost intangible to create that narrative and transform them into an artwork, or um, is it resourcing wise? Would it be a challenge? Like, because in the previous artworks, they are mostly in green color, which we can see in some brands.
Hmm.
The salt, the igloo one, where it was from the salt, soy sauce bottles. So this one, yeah, could you share with us? The bottles that maybe in blue was it
Hmm.
rare to find?
Yes. Well, we always say reduce, reuse, recycle. So recycle is really only the third thing we should consider. First, we should reduce our waste, and secondly, we should reuse the bottles, because glass is an inorganic compound which is very durable. It takes a million years to break it down. So if we can reuse the glass bottle, it would be much better than any of the recycling process, I'm sure.
Mm,
But for recycling, and you're right that glass needs a very high temperature to melt it. So it uses a lot of energy to recreate if we want to melt the glass and form in a different shape. So in our process, we crush it and we bond it with resin at the moment. And this we think is more energy efficient. And also it allows us to create locally in Hong Kong, which is important because shipping is another energy wastage. So what we are doing right now is to recycle locally and then doing this artwork locally. And by doing so, we can also involve the local workers, which they already work very hard on the day-to-day recycling work. And so we hope we can have some fun with them, and also can support them in a different way. And so creating this artwork locally is also a goal that we want to achieve as well. And for this particular artwork, we made 130 pieces of trapezoidal glass tiles, and in different colors. So we actually add some pigments to it to create these colors. So we used the transparent bottles, and we added a little bit of colors to it. And we also created different molds that can work with the tectonics of the structure for this piece. So hopefully, by doing this, I think the main goal is to show people that, well, recycled glass can be beautiful, rather than just dump it into mix into the concrete, but we can create some beautiful stuff out of it.
I thought it's from, is it called La Mui? There's the brand? It's a beer brand. I think it's called La Mui or something. Or is it Blue Moon
Yes.
or
Blue Girl.
or Blue Girl. Oh my. And then and then I thought it's from Kronenberg or something. So okay, so it's a pigmented one, which somehow is very consistent. I mean, I saw the artwork is very consistently creating the kind of gradient. It's almost like a blue dress in the
Yeah.
nature, which is quite interesting. So
Thank you. Yeah, the
okay.
Cronenberg photo is quite rare. We tried to collect, and we actually got some and mixed into it.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Because it's I don't know. Maybe Hong Kongers tend to drink that lesser. I don't know. So it's quite hard to find. But yeah, I mean that's very very interesting. So my last question would be, perhaps which I noticed what's very interesting about this artwork, that also it came a long way along with other presidents in different kind of projects. For example, the igloo one, and also the recycled glass butterfly, and also the spiral sculpture, and also along with this, is it the same process? The one with a long, almost like a piece of cloth, the orange and yellow one. So it seems like it's a long process along the way. My question would be, what would be the next experimental thing? Would Stephen and Pierce would love to look into construction materials, look into other side, because before that Stephen also mentioned about there's certain limitation of the structure in terms of the structural perspective. So I'm
Yes.
quite curious about the next step, or it may be another small project to experiment with the recycled glass.
Yes, we really want to put the recycled glass into good use. As I mentioned, the recycling rate is still very low. So a lot of material is just wasted, put into the trash, and it takes a million years to break it down. So I really want to use it in more ways. And one of the ways is to use it as a building material. So we're trying to explore really to use it as in the manner of a piece of brick to construct walls. But this would not be just a solid brick wall. It would be a translucent wall that allow light to pass through, and you can kind of see the activities inside. So it's one thing that we wanted to do. So in order to allow us to do this, we are trying to run some tests, like stress tests or all sorts of testing, and we want to get this to be something comparable to a piece of brick. So that's one thing. And then the other thing we wanted to do is to glass is actually an inert material that has a very good property in terms of say sound insulation. So there are some other directions that we want to study, is to try to mix it into a building material that can be widely used. So hopefully, maybe it still need a few years time, but hopefully if these uses are more popular, then we can the glass can be recycled and used in a better way.
And also, before that, you mentioned about the pavilion. It's kind of tested, structurally tested. It's all good for now. With all the kids
Yes,
or adults standing on the platforms for this pavilion, it's still okay. So I hope it's
yes,
all right. So it
yes,
seems like it's quite okay for for a minimal load. So it
yes.
looks
For the cycle hall artwork, we plan to put it there for at least 2 years. So it would be a good test. An outdoor harsh environment, super hot sun in the summer, and a lot of rain, and quite cold in the winter in Hong Kong as well. So and a lot of UV for 2 years. So it would be a good experiment for us too.
oh, that's really nice. I mean, that's great. Thanks a lot, Stephen, for your sharing about the artwork and also, um, it's very inspiring to use different materials, especially when it comes to recycling materials, into another. Technically, it's giving the so-called waste into another second life, which turned out to be something quite nice as well. It's visually appealing as well.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Stephen. I think that's all from for this podcast, and I wish you all the best for the following experiment. But yeah, feel free to come over to Malaysia. Maybe you can try something out together.
Thank you so much. So I
Thanks a
wish
lot,
you
Stephen.
can come again to Hong Kong, or
Oh yeah.
your audience can come to our workshop next week. And wish you a good time in Malaysia.
All right. Thank you so much, Stephen,
Thank
and
you.
hope to see you again.
Thank you, Gary.
All right. Thank you.